Hi, and welcome to another episode of 10xMarketer podcast. Today, I have Rick Van Haasteren with me. He is the owner of SiteGuru and a well known SEO expert globally. We have discussed important topics such as how to map your search intent with the content that you're producing, how to get best outcome out of your content when it comes to the funnel, how to design the funnel around informational content and bring your user down to the commercial intent. How can you write better content so that you can outperform your competitor in the age of AI? How can you repurpose the content in a better way? What is the structured process of repurposing your content? These are some of the fundamental questions that every SEO person, every website owner needs to understand. So we discuss these topics in detail, and there are some fantastic insights that Rick shared with me during this discussion. It was a lovely, quick chat, which I'm sure you will definitely enjoy. Before we head over to the episode and listen to what Rick has to share, can I request you all to subscribe to the 10x Marketer podcast as we bring some real great, insightful marketing minds to share their learnings, their stories, and some insightful uh, outcome out of every episode that we record. So look forward to have you as my subscriber, and let's head over to the episode and listen to what Rick has to share.
Thanks, Yuri. Thanks for having me. So my name is Rick van Haasteren. I'm from Holland. I live in a small coastal town. I'm like 5 minutes from the beach. I have, I think, about 10 years experience in SEO now. And today I'm mostly focused on my own SEO tool. It's called SiteGuru. It's a tool that basically audits your website and helps you make the right improvements and monitor performance. Before that, I've worked at a couple of agencies, worked as a developer as well. So a bit of a technical slash SEO background. And that's how I ended up building my own tool. And that's currently where I am.
Great. So I'm really excited to have you here and hear your 10 years of experience working on SEO and content. Let's start by firing this simple question. A lot of people are talking about search intent and they want to align their content with the search intent. But when I see the content and the quality of content that is being posted online, I think this is one of the most confusing topic. People really don't understand what it means when they say this is the search intent and this is my content. Do you want to get some insights into how to build that alignment from the beginning and how to put the right content with the right search intent?
Yeah, exactly. So I think what search intent is really all about is, are you answering the question of the searcher? Are you helping them in their journey, answering their questions? And if you do that, Google will reward you with a much better position and much more clicks. So I think that's why um, focusing on search intent is crucial as an SEO. If you want to succeed, you need to know, how can I answer the question of the searcher. And you need to keep in mind that Google is not there for you. Their user is what they want, is who they want to help. They want to help that user find the answer to the question. So that's what you should optimize for. And to do that, you quite quickly end up in the topic of search intent, because that helps you basically categorize what are people searching for, and is my content the right content that Google should put on number one for that particular search query. And normally, what most people do is they categorize it in like four different categories. So there's navigational intent, and that's, from an SEO perspective, not super useful, because navigational just means I'm too lazy to type in the full URL in my browser, so I type in Google to get to Google, right? So that's not something that most SEOs focus on. But the other ones are like informational, so I need to know more about a certain topic. Commercial, I'm trying to compare different products. And then there's transactional, so I'm ready to buy the product. And if you keep those three in mind, and map that to like the SEO funnel, then I think you'll be a lot more successful as an SEO.
Great. So I think the most confusing that comes when people are actually trying to identify the intent around a keyword is when they perform a Google search to understand what kind of results they are getting. Sometimes that alignment even in Google search is not 100% perfect,
Yeah.
because you'll see a lot of commercial queries also has some blogs ranking in there. Some queries, you will see even if they are transactional, there will be a lot of videos and other content, because even Google is not clear about that intent 100%. That's what I feel. And when uh, the actual content creation starts for a new website owner, what they end up doing is something that has already been ranking, so it's like fueling the incorrect intent again. So somehow I find this intent related topic and intent related research not 100% up to mark when it comes to finally finding out that this is the intent. This is so, are there any reliable tool which as a website owner I can use to identify that yes, this is the intent, this is the tool which is giving me the right information according to the classifications that you have just identified, and then I can start creating the content around that.
Yeah, I think for answering these questions, you shouldn't be looking into tools really. It's more about really understanding your user, because I agree with what you say. I mean, sometimes Google even doesn't really understand the intent, and you can't really blame them because, well, if you make a search for, I don't know, fishing, are
Hmm.
you looking for a fishing trip? Do you want to go fishing? Do you want to learn more about fishing? Are you trying to buying fishing equipment? Uh, Especially those short search terms, it's really hard to identify what people are trying to achieve with that. And those shorter search terms are usually the ones that have a lot more search volume because they're in the short end of the tail. So that's what a lot of people focus on, and that causes a lot of confusion. So I think it's not really about tools. It's more about, first of all, trying to understand your user. So you look at those searches and you think, okay, what would someone be looking for in this case? And the easiest way to get a better understanding of that is by looking at the search, I think. So if you just do that search and you look at your top 10 results and you see what type of results do you get. Do you get videos? Do you get product information? Do you get FAQs? And what's on those pages? I mean, click on all 10 results and see what they have. What type of questions are they trying to answer? And that will give you a much better understanding of, is this commercial intent? Is someone already ready to buy the product? Or are they more like, trying to understand information about the product or the service, things like that. So I would stay away from tools in this phase, because what tools are doing, like most of the big keyword tools, all have great intent mapping, right? They can do the keyword intent mapping, and it's nice, but it doesn't really tell you much. I think it gives you much more insights if you actually try to understand your user and try to understand what ranks in Google. And then you can come up with, okay, how does my website fit into this funnel? Because I always see, apart from the keyword intent, you should look at it as a funnel, right? And there's the awareness phase where people are trying to understand it. That's where the informational searches happen. So people are trying to figure out, I'm trying to live healthier, for instance. I want to lose weight. I want to work out more, things like that. That's very generic, very high level. Next up, they might, for instance, learn that they need a slow juicer to like eat healthier. And next up is, okay, what type of slow juicer do I need? Do I need a $500 one? Do I need $1,000 one? Or is $100 one fine? Trying to better understand the product category. And then only in the next step, like the decision phase, you get to that transactional content. You really want to buy it and you want to see the price, things like that. And you need to always keep in mind where does my website fit into that whole process? Because if you are like an affiliate website and you do product comparisons, that's completely different from more generic blogs about living a healthier life. And it's also completely different from, are you an e-commerce shop and are you selling this particular product? So that's always something to keep in mind. Where do you fit in? And how does that match to my search intent?
Great. So that's a bang on answer. Now let's come to the next phase of the keyword intent and the content of writing the content on that keyword, matching that intent. The first stage is that you map all your target keyword in certain categories according to intent, and then you understand where do you fit in. And the next step is you proceed with creating the content that is able to answer that particular intent of the user. Let's start with the commercial intent. Most people often find it confusing what kind of content I should produce when it's a commercial intent. For an e-commerce website, it is pretty straightforward. They have to target the product pages and maybe optimize the product page in certain way, so that it is clear that yes, this is the product page, this is the product I'm selling. And but for an affiliate on and a b2b kind of business, it is very difficult for them to understand whether it is the right way of serving this intent, because sometimes they end up writing a good nice long blog, but actually Google might be ranking a product page or something similar which has more like a comparison feature, as you said already. What kind of content a website owner should produce? For example, you have a tool, you want to rank for, let's say, SEO tools or a similar search query, because that is matching with your commercial intent. But what end up happening is most of the search results that you see for a query like SEO tool would be affiliate website or somebody with a high authority comparing the affiliate tools, maybe not an affiliate intent but simply comparing the SEO tool. So
Yeah.
how do you really write, what kind of content you have to write as a website owner? Because on your website, obviously you don't want to write a comparison and give your competitors a free space, right? Because that should not ideally be this solution for this kind of serving this kind of intent. What should be the approach in that case?
Yeah, I think this question is particularly interesting if you look at the recent helpful content updates that we've seen with Google, and this is super important because what we've seen there is that a lot of those comparison websites got demoted, so they lost their top rankings. And what came back for that was, well, first of all, Reddit, lots of people asking questions, and also websites with an e-commerce component. So unless you were selling the product, it was really hard to get that top spot in Google, because Google figured out, okay, if you're searching for this product name, then you're probably trying to buy it. So we're not going to rank these affiliate pages that compare them or that review them. Instead, we're going to send you directly to the shop. Here's the cheapest provider, and we know that's a trustworthy provider, so you can buy it from them. And that's been a really tough period for those affiliate shops, of course, for those affiliate providers. But I think what you should focus on in that case is what makes you unique. If you look at, for instance, electricity providers, right? I mean, any search that you do for that, they will always put like comparison websites in the top spot. At least that's how it is in Holland and in most other countries that I've seen. Same for bicycles. I mean, we in Holland we love to ride our bicycle. If you search for the best e-bike, you're never gonna find an e-commerce provider there, unless it's a shop that sells different brands, because Google wants to provide like objective information. And that's where you come in if you are an affiliate website and if you do product comparisons. Then that's what you should double down on, the fact that you're objective and the fact that you can make a better judgment about what is the best product than the producer of the product. I mean, if I want to buy a certain brand of bike, I'm not going to ask one bike brand what is the best bike. Like, that's not a fair answer that I'm going to get from them. So you should really move to that consideration stage if you are an affiliate website, and you should really look at how can I best help my visitors make the right decision. And that means normally searching or trying to rank for those comparison queries. So product A versus product B, is product A a good product? Things like that. And that's where that's shifted a bit, because, well, for those commercial intents, those sites have really dropped. But for those comparison intents, there's still a lot of room for them.
Great. So I have two questions. I want to park the second one right now, which is more related to how AI is impacting the search intent and what is the search behavior that is changing according to you and your experience. The other question, which is even more prominent, is let's say you are able to answer the search intent and you have designed that funnel. where you are answering questions based on informational intent. How do you and where do you fit in the commercial intent keyword in that case? Because when you're answering a lot of informational queries, there may be a lot of people coming to your website, but they are not ready to make a decision right now. How do you bring them down in the funnel when they're coming to your website for the first time?
Yeah, exactly. That's super important because I mean, as an SEO, we are often focused on clicks and positions, but in the end, you want to show ROI to your clients, right? I mean, if you uh, produce all that content, then in the end, that should also translate into actual sales and
True.
ideally sales with you. So you need to think about where in this funnel, and it comes back to that same funnel again, where can I start building relations with these clients? So if you're doing these informational searches, we know that you're not ready to buy. You're not gonna buy that slow juicer yet because you don't even know you need one. So you need to be there. You need to get that visibility at that stage, but you also need to think about how can I start building that relationship with that client. That when he's ready to buy that product, he actually remembers me. And that's things like, okay, first of all, there's branding, right? I mean, if just the fact that you show up and that they might visit your website, that's like the first seed that you plant in their brain for, okay, this is a brand that's affiliated with this topic, and well, they've seen you, and once they start looking for that particular product, they might remember you, and it's easier to get that sale done. But you can also think of things like social channels, right? I mean, retargeting, make sure you show up for them in their Instagram feed. It's not just about SEO. You need to think about all the channels, right? Can you get them to sign up for your newsletter if you add like a 5% discount? They might not want to buy yet, but they think, hey, there's a 5% discount. Maybe I'll do that later on. And then you can, well, start building a relationship with them. And that's also what you need to do in that consideration phase. If it's like B2B products, for instance, can you come up with a white paper? Can you offer discounts? You need to think about how can I, when this consumer visits my website, how can I start engaging with them so that in that later e-commerce stage, they remember me and they buy that product from me. If you just go for clicks, it's nice. I mean, you can show lots of great graphs and you see a lot of clicks and you see number one positions. But if you have no way to turn that into actual sales, then there's not really any ROI to be gained from that.
Great answer. So, to recap what you have just shared with me, and it's really insightful for the audience. One is you have to answer the search intent. Like you should be able to address the search intent with your content, but at the same time, you should be able to engage that visitor in some way that they stay connected with you. They remember you when they have to purchase. Maybe they can follow you on the social channels, they can sign up for your newsletter, or if there is any webinar or a gated content where they can get into your funnel somehow, stay connected through your email or other mediums. That is the super important part when it comes to from SEO to ROI, right? So
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
hope I summarized it the right way. Now the other important question, which is quite prominent nowadays, is how the search intent is getting redefined because of AI. And lot of people are talking about zero search clicks because that is the future, that seem to be the future right now. And what the brand has to do with the informational queries, because if there is no traffic coming, if there's no search happening which is leading to their website, what is the use of writing so much informational content in that case? And how, as a brand owner or as a website owner, people can position themselves so that they don't lose on the business that they used to get because of the SEO and other organic searches.
Yeah, that's a very good question. It becomes more and more relevant. I think we've been talking about zero clicks for a couple of years already. But especially as Google starts uh, rolling out the AI overviews more and more, I think the number of clicks that we'll get for informational queries that will continue to go down. I think in an e-commerce market, you don't really have to worry because Google is not going to sell that bike or sell that slow juicer or sell that product, whatever. Um, but answering those questions that you use to in that first stage of the funnel, yeah, there will be fewer clicks because Google will try to answer the question. ChatGPT will try to answer that question with their new search engine, and there will be less reason for the user to click to your website. So it'll also be harder to build up that relationship. So you need to look at other opportunities, and in that case, I think still visibility in that AI overview or in that rich snippet is still super important, because it's still like a branding activity, right? People still see your brand, and they might not click to your website, and that's a shame. But it's better to be there. I'd rather be on that top position, even if people don't click, than seeing my competitor there. So still, I think it's worth going for that. And you need to keep in mind, well, it's informational, so it will be harder for those affiliate websites to make money. That's true. But what you also see there is with all the content that's being released now. I mean, like with AI, it's been so much easier. It's become so much easier to generate a lot of content, right? So that means the internet's basically flooded with a lot of crap content.
True.
Uh,
It it is already
yeah, and that also, I think, provides an opportunity. If you are that thorough reviewer, if you do have experience with a certain product, I mean, Google talks all about EEAT, right? Experience is the big one. That's new. Um, if you are, for instance, in the travel industry, if you're writing travel blogs without ever having been to that place, that's super easy now, right? I mean, I can ask ChatGPT to write a nice article about Mexico. I can put it on my website. I've never been to Mexico, but I'm sure it will be super nice and people will read it and think that I've been to Mexico. And I think Google's getting better lately at figuring out who is really an expert and who really has experience in this area, or in this case, who's really been to Mexico and who's really visited all those restaurants and who made all those photos and put them on the website. So if you are making the effort of coming up with useful content and producing that in a nice way, there's still a lot to be gained, I think. And it's easier maybe to stand out, because a lot of the content is just really crappy now.
true. I think it is. It looks easier to stand out, but what end up happening is most people copy your content and then process it through Chat GPT, and they think that now they have created something which is even better than what is existing right now. So it may look easier, that it is easy to stand out, but the moment you put across a good quality content, people will end up copying it and maybe rewrite or spin it using Chat GPT. So that will be even more difficult for an original creator to stay differentiated for a long time. But
Yeah, and that's where you need to show that expertise and that
yes, yes.
experience.
So if you are the expert and if Google is able to trust your experience, then it is easy to stand out or differentiate yourself. And I think the new mediums, the social presence, channels like the podcast that we are doing right now, showing yourself up, and like people able to see your expertise and relate to it, is something which is going to matter even more when we actually see the AI overview uh, getting full fledged, and Chat GPT search engine also getting a full fledged live. So that is an important aspect of maintaining your presence on internet when AI and everything is taking over. It not just content, it is also your authenticity that would matter more. Now
Absolutely.
coming to the so you talked about EEAT, so that was anyway my next question. Now people are creating content at scale. There are a lot of people who are putting across a very high quantity content because of the Chat GPT. As you already said, a lot of crappy content is coming almost every day. Let's say you are a new website owner and you want to somehow rank for some informational keyword, build your brand, and maybe build a visibility for yourself. How and at what scale can you really create quality content and stay maybe ahead of curve, or at least with the curve, with everything else going on in the market right now?
Yeah, I think for me, first of all, like AI, there's nothing wrong with AI, right? I mean, it's great. I use it every day. I think we all do, but it shouldn't be the starting point. I think AI is a great way to rephrase what you're trying to say it in a better way people understand. Use AI as a reviewer of your content. That's all great. But if you start using AI and say, uh, please write me a blog post about Mexico, I don't think that will create valuable content. So there's definitely a place for AI. no doubt about that, a big place. But it shouldn't be your starting point. You should really start by thinking about, okay, what do I have to offer? How can I, if I want to rank for that top position for that keyword, how can I be a trusted resource? And it's harder now to be a trusted resource if you don't have like a brand or an online personality, basically. So you need to think about other channels as well. I think it's harder nowadays to be to get like 100% of your traffic from SEO. That's not a desirable situation. You need to think about other channels. You need to think about LinkedIn. You need, depending on, of course, what you're writing about. But if you're B2B, LinkedIn is your starting point. If you're like B2C, you need to be on Instagram, you need to be on Facebook, you need to be on TikTok. Those are the channels that you should combine together with SEO to grow your brand and get more clicks. And if you do that in a smart way, you can always repurpose your content, right? I mean, that blog post that you've written, you can turn it into a video on YouTube. You can also turn it into Instagram posts. Like yeah, it takes more effort, but you have the content already, so you might as well use it in other channels. And in that way, you can build your brand, build a personality, and become a more trusted resource on the topic. And that will give you more clicks eventually.
True. Now, the other part of this question that we talked about is a lot of people talk about content pillars and building the like comprehensiveness in your content, and what they end up doing is excessive use of chat gpt to create crappy content about every topic within a subject. So what is the right way of putting a structure, because you also have an seo tool and you have a deeper understanding of the site architecture. One is, how do you keep your architecture clean so that google is able to crawl the information, understand your website? Another part is, what kind of and how much content you should put across for a particular pillar or a cluster, so that at least google consider you an authority on a particular topic.
Yeah, good question. I think it all starts with the technical part. You need all the pages that you create need to be indexable. They need to have those internal links. They need to be in the sitemap. So that's like your hygiene factors. You need to make sure that the page can rank at all. You need to make sure that your website can be crawled efficiently by Google, because otherwise any new content that you put out there will be put on a long backlog and won't show up anytime soon. So have that crawl efficiency in there by optimizing your sitemap, by optimizing your internal link structure, by making sure that only the pages that are really relevant will be indexable. Things like that. That's the starting point. And then if you start thinking about the structure, um, you need to ask yourself the question every time: does this topic or subtopic deserve its own page? And normally that begins with search volume, right? I mean, is there enough search volume for this particular subtopic to to give it its own page? And if you've identified that, then you'll probably end up with a topic cluster. So we may come up with, like, going back to travel to Mexico. The topic may be traveling to Mexico, and then there's like activities, flights, safety, events, things to do. You can go as far as you like, and you just need to focus on where's that search volume and how do I create a nice tree of content. And then you need to think about, how do I link that together? And I think HubSpot is famous for those content, those topic clusters. They've defined it really well, and I think that still works. Focus on your internal linking. Make sure that your user who lands on a page can continue to the next page, because that's also what it's all about, right? I mean, you don't want the worst thing that can happen for you as an SEO is be on the top position in Google. People click on it and directly go back to Google, because if that happens, Google will see, okay, we gave you the wrong information. You directly came back and did the same search again. So you were looking for something else than we provided. So what you should aim for is not only providing the answer to the search query, but also providing a next step. So, okay, we've answered this question. Here's more information that's relevant to you. So you need to tie all the content in your website together to basically provide a journey for that searcher so that they end up on the page and they have more information to find on the site.
Understood, and that's a fantastic answer. Now, coming to the next part of the question, which is understanding the content performance. I think most people like try to use the simplest metrics, that is the search, how many clicks they are getting, what is the traffic that the content is able to attract. Are there any specific metrics that one should be using when it comes to measuring the content performance?
Yeah, absolutely. And then that brings us back to that search funnel basically. And I think for every step in the funnel, you require different metrics. So if you look at the first part of the funnel where you're trying to get informational queries, get people who are like only just figuring out about a certain topic and trying to learn more, um, then you need to look at visibility. So are we visible to people who didn't know our brand before? You can think of like new visitors, page views, impressions in Google, clicks from Google, things like that. That's a good metric. And if you move on in the funnel, so you get to that engagement step where people are trying to compare products, for instance, people are considering you. You can look at those things that we just discussed, like do people sign up for my newsletter? Do people start following me on my social channels? Do they engage with the page, and do they, well, in some way, line up for a next step? And of course, in the last step of the funnel, you'll look at the revenue that came in from organic. Of course, that's not always easy to measure because someone may come in at a certain point and may order a product on a different device or at a different time. But on a high level, you want to see, okay, how much revenue did we get that was supported by the organic channel or by the other channels, and then you can really find out what's the ROI of my content. Do I provide enough value for my users so that I can get them to sign up? But it really depends on the stage of the funnel. So you shouldn't be looking at sales in that informational step, right? You can't really expect people to land on your site when they're still in that informational stage, and you can't expect them to buy the product right away. So keep in mind where you are in the funnel and select the right metrics for that certain step.
True. And so the next question that usually arise when we discuss this topic is, not every content that you are producing is worth repurposing. How do you decide which content I should repurpose for different channels? And then second is deciding the formats in which it should be repurposed. Is there a way to find out?
Um, I think in the end, it's all about just trying it out, seeing what works. Certain topics will be more interesting for social channels or for newsletter channels, or to be used as white papers or to be turned into a video. It all depends on the content, and I don't think there's really one rule that you can say, okay, this type of content should be turned into this. I think it starts with keeping your eyes open. Okay, I've created this piece of content. Is there a way I can repurpose it? Because I think most people still forget about that. And it's a shame because you've spent so much time and money creating that content, trying to make something useful. Repurposing is normally not that expensive and quite easy to do. And you can just open it to a whole new audience. So I think the first step is just try it and see what works. And then you'll soon learn, okay, is this post on LinkedIn, if I turn this blog post or this comparison article, if I turn that into a small LinkedIn post and I try to boost it, does that increase my audience? Do I get responses from people who didn't know me before? I think that's what you should look into, and then just try it out. And with all the tools out there, it's very easy to measure. Does it get any results? And then you can double down on that. So I would say just try it and measure it.
Yeah, and at least in the repurposing content, when you have the original content of your own, at least in the repurposing of your content, you can freely use AI because now you are using AI to refine your own
Exactly.
content.
Yeah,
That
you're
will make
just
your life much easier.
it's your original content, and yeah, use it to use AI to summarize your content or to repurpose it. That
That
doesn't that's not cheating.
Yeah, that's not cheating, and that's at least you are not using somebody else's content to repurpose that into
Exactly.
your
Yeah.
own. Okay, so now I keep coming to AI again and again, and I think it just stays on top of mind all the time. Now, the important question that stays unanswered so far is, let's say there is, if there is any way of understanding and optimizing an underperforming content. First is, how do you really identify that this content is underperforming? So the problem is, let's say you have written a very good piece of content, but your brand is still not there. You are operating in a very, very competitive market, and you're not getting any clicks. There's no performance metrics to show that this is a good content, and you have done your all your hard work, and the citations and everything is there. How do you decide whether I should update it or not? Because according to my all my metrics or all my quality signals, it looks like a very good content. I've written it in a clear to easy to understand language. I formatted it correctly. I've added all the citations and everything, but it is getting zero traffic. How do you decide that I should optimize it, repurpose it, when it, at least when it comes from the SEO point of view? The newly written blog, it often dies an immature death.
Yeah, yeah, we see that a lot. So people spend a lot of time writing content, but it never really does any makes any difference organically. Uh, I think there's a lot of different things related to that. So first of all, uh, again going back to the hygiene factors, right? Your hygienics is there enough internal links to that page? Is it included in the sitemap? Does Google even index it? Right? I mean, we there's so much content out there. Why should Google find your article and index it? I mean, we see a lot more Google indexation statuses in the crawled, not indexed, right? So that means Google came to your page, came to your site, they found that there's this new page about a certain topic, and they decided, well, I'm not going to index that now. And why is that? That's probably because they already have enough useful articles on that topic. And if you're not a top brand, and if you're not like a reliable source in that specific topic, and your content doesn't look 10 times better than what's ranking now, then why should they even pay attention? I mean, they have the whole internet to crawl. You can't really expect them to crawl your article too if it doesn't really make a difference.
True.
So what you should do is I think start promoting it a bit more. Use it on your social channels. Use it in your newsletter. That's the first step. Then it still provides value. And if branding is an issue, then that's something you need to look into. That can be as simple as link building, right? I mean, link building still is important. So I would definitely recommend looking into that. Are your competitors like outperforming you in incoming links? That's something to look into. But it's also, yeah, coming back to what we said earlier, it's all about branding. If you're not deemed a reliable source for that topic, you're not an expert, you don't have the experience, or you don't show off the experience, then that's something you need to focus on. Just it's more about. I don't think it's really about the question, why doesn't Google rank me? I think you need to reverse that question. I mean, Google has the entire internet to check. They can't. I mean, there's no way they can do that. So you should ask the question, what can I do so that Google must index me and put me on top? And that's a combination of a lot of things. The technical stuff needs to be okay. Your content needs to be outstanding. You need to have an authority in that space. The content also needs to be like easy to read. It's all about usability as well, right? Satisfying the user intent goes beyond writing the content. It's also making the content easy to read. Put a video in there. Put FAQs in there. Everything that helps to to match that search intent.
Great. So now, before we close into our episode, let's talk about the site guru and its capabilities. Do you want to put in some lights on how the audience can really use it, how it would be useful for people in optimizing their website, getting the insights, and everything else?
Yeah, sure. So what SiteGuru really aims to do is take you on a step by step approach to SEO. And one of the key features that we have is focus keywords. So what we do, you put in your site URL, we scan your entire site, so all the pages get checked for everything that's relevant for SEO, like the basics like meta descriptions, titles, indexability, you name it. And then you set up your focus keywords. So these are like my top 50 keywords that are really important to me. And then for each of those keywords, you get like guidance on how to improve that. We check all the things we just discussed. Right? Is the content matching that intent? Do you have internal links to it? Is the page indexable? And then you can just see how that performs over time. And on top of that, everything basically that you need to improve your rankings and monitoring your performance. And coming back to your earlier question, how does that content that's not ranking yet? What can I do to improve that? We have the things like low hanging fruit, especially if you have those pages that rank on page one or page two. You'll see that they don't get a lot of clicks because the best place to hide a dead body is in Google's page two, right? But it might may be quite easy with some tweaks to rank a bit higher. So we find those opportunities, things like that. Also, content that needs attention. If you have content that used to rank on page one, but now it's dropping, uh, it's quite difficult to find that in Search Console. But if you link Search Console to SiteGuru, we quickly show you a list of, hey, this is the content that probably needs some attention. You may need to refresh it, update it a bit, expand it a bit. Uh, so really to help you get the most out of your SEO efforts.
Great. So that's a fantastic answer, and it looks like a really good tool worth using for my next SEO projects. Any parting remarks before we close our discussion for today?
It's been great talking to you. Really nice to chat. And yeah, I think we went quite deep in the search intent topic. And all I want to say is that it all comes down to making sure that you uh, provide the right stuff to the user. Don't think about how much keywords should I put in this topic, on this article. Things like LSI, semantic SEO. Forget all about that. Think just about how can I satisfy my user's intent, and then we'll, despite all the AI changes, Google updates, you'll be successful in SEO if you keep that in mind.
Great. So thank you so much, Rick, and it was really a fantastic chat. The quick one, and we were able to cover some topics really well. Thank you once again, and
Thank
thank you
you.
everyone for listening to us so far. Make sure you subscribe to 10x Marketer podcast as we keep bringing some great guests like Rick on our next episodes. Thanks once again, and have a lovely day ahead. Take care.